Welcome back to the Full-Time Ultras. The international break is finally over. The Premier League is back. And in this video, we're going to look at one thing every Premier League club needs to do to get better, as the season is now entering into a very crucial phase. We joined with Raghav for this one. We are back after a while. And let's get straight away into it. The first team we are looking at is Arsenal. And what I feel Arsenal need to do is they need to forget about the title. I think with Arsenal they're drawn into the title picture right from game week 1. So I feel that they need to take it a little bit slow, because I think that having that at the back of their mind screwed up their game against Brighton. So they need to calm down. They need to go one game at a time. Big injury crisis as well. So how they pivot from that will also be a very, very intriguing thing to see. Let's move on to Aston Villa. What do you make of Aston Villa?
They need to improve their away form, because last season they made the top 4 and their home form was impeccable. But away they were a bit sus. And they need to be more consistent with their away form.
Yeah.
If they want to stay in the top 4 hunt and they want to stay relevant, because this season is gonna be obviously longer because of the Champions League. So they need to improve their away form and string those results consistently away from home.
What are your thoughts on Bournemouth? What do you think they need to do to kind of
They
get
need
better?
to replace Solanke's goals.
Do you think Evan Nilsson has it in him to do it?
I don't think he's gonna be firing straight away. But they have Sinistera, they have Semenyo, they have these players to cover up until Evan Nilsson starts firing.
Yeah.
Because even Solanke took a couple of seasons to just gel in and integrate himself into the Premier League. But yeah, I think that Evan Nilsson straight away he's still raw.
Yeah.
Even at Porto he had Mehdi Taremi, he was being integrated. But I don't think that they're gonna be. I don't think they need to replace Solanke's goals with the other players like Semenyo and Sinistera.
So the next team I'm going to talk about is Brentford. I feel Brentford, they need to get out of the horrors of last season, because it was a really, really bad season. A lot of injuries that haunted that side. But now I feel they need to look at this as a completely new season. They have to get Mbumo and Visa firing, because Mbumo missed a chunk of last season as well because of the injury. It was Visa who was carrying them a lot. Now the cloud of Tony has also gone over. He's finally moved on. Brentford also have a very favorable turn of fixtures coming. So I think this is the time where we're going to see Mbumo and Visa fire, and they need to target these set of fixtures.
Yeah.
Right? Because this set of
Maximum
fixtures,
points.
if there is something which goes wrong over here, then it's going to be very tough ahead. And then plus momentum will fall. So I think they do need to get Visa and Mbumo firing, which I think they will, because I feel Brentford will be fine. Thomas Frank's a good coach. What do you make of Brighton?
They need to keep, because
What a start though.
Brilliant start. Nobody expected Hurzler to start firing right away.
Yeah.
But they still look a bit lacking in
Midfield,
because they've lost a lot. They've lost Pascal Gross. They've lost Billy Gilmore.
Yeah.
And last season, of course, they lost
Caicedo,
Caicedo and they lost McAllister.
They always adapt, but they look a little bit light.
But
Baleba is
yeah,
there,
exactly.
Kadioglu is there, Gruda has been signed.
But they still look a bit light. So and that's still not been figured out.
Yeah.
They've just not still figured out that they can be played through in midfield. So when Hurzler gets figured out that his midfield is a bit light, he needs to figure out the solutions for that, and he needs to keep the momentum going till January, so that he gets some more time. He gets time to get in reinforcements.
As of now, even with all their issues, they've done quite well. So I think Hurzler should have that sorted.
That's the point. Teams are not still figured out. They're still figuring out, okay, what is Hurzler doing? So once they do, that's when the real challenge for Hurzler starts.
So we're moving on to Crystal Palace, and I think with Crystal Palace, I will give them a bonus. I think they need to do two things. Second, they've had a horrendous start to the season, but I still feel that they need to trust Oliver Glasner, even though the results will fluctuate, because they've had a lot of changes in their team. Olise leaving, Anderson going. So plus they're so weak in defense because they've got key injuries over there, and they need to keep Eze fit. Because I don't know what Crystal Palace does if Eze gets injured, because he's that talisman in that team. Everything of that attack in Palace, it goes through Eze. So I think the big goal for Glasner and Palace will be to keep Eze fit, because he has a history of getting injured a lot.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Chelsea?
They need to manage the squad, because if you look at them, they have 30 players who play for their international team day in day out.
Yeah.
They are guaranteed starters at any other top club, but they have signed on for this project at Chelsea.
Yeah.
They need to manage their workload, and every player like somehow needs to get 30 games, because every player wants to play maybe 40 games, but
Correct.
they need to somehow manage, like they have to get 30 games.
Yeah.
And like Palmer has been removed from the Conference League to manage the workload, so they need to do something like that. But and they need to figure out a defensive combination, because that looks a bit iffy to me. But they need to figure out that defensive combination.
What are your thoughts on Everton?
Everything. They need everything.
They need
They
everything
need
to go
personnel.
right,
They
yeah.
need miracles. They need Sean Dyche.
I think if you have to narrow it down to one, I feel they need to hope that Sean Dyche still has it in him to turn it around.
Because like last season,
Yeah.
even with the points deduction, they managed to survive. And I think it's time for another Sean Dyche miracle.
Yeah.
And they need a miracle.
They
and
desperately do need
and
one.
they also
Yeah.
need a striker, because DCL doesn't look anywhere near his best. The DCL that we know he's nowhere there, and I think they need to get a striker.
With Fulham, I feel that Fulham are still showing signs of last season where they've been so bad away from home, because I saw them go to Ipswich and they were not very good against Ipswich. So they do need to give in some better performances away from home if they want to finish in that 10th spot, in that top half, because they have recruited a lot. Like, of course, they've lost Palhinha, but they've gotten Sander Berge, they've gotten Joachim Anderson, they've gotten Emil Smith Rowe. So they need to now start. They do perform well at home at times. They have the ability of beating the big team, but now they need to start beating the likes of Ipswich and all these teams around them, especially away from home, if they want to make the top up, because I feel that's where Fulham need to be. They need to be 10th considering how much they spend, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I feel they need to improve. Your thoughts on Ipswich Town?
They need to adapt quickly, because the way they played against Chelsea, City, they took the lead, but they failed to adapt and be defensively compact.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do in the Premier League. You can't always play expansive football against like City, Liverpool, Arsenal, because you give them a sniff, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
They smell blood and they're gonna hound you like anything. That's the top teams of the Premier League. I think McKenna needs to realize when he can play that expansive football,
And when he needs
when
to
he
go
need-
conservative.
conservative and play on the counter against the big teams.
The other team that got promoted, Leicester City.
I think they need to rediscover what they did before getting relegated, because the Leicester of old, they haven't recruited really well, and they did well. They did really well last season, and they just need to rediscover. And they haven't recruited because they haven't got a points deduction.
Yeah. Big
But
cloud over their head gone though.
It's gone.
I think it also, to narrow it down to one thing, maybe they could use this as a positive.
They could, but they need to still play like they've gotten the deduction. They need to get 8 point extra. So that's how they need to play, considering that they couldn't recruit and they still have the same group of players that were in the championship, and they need to put in that extra effort to maybe survive in the Premier League.
A team that has started very, very well this season is Liverpool, who you didn't give a chance. But 3 wins out of 3, none conceded. What more can they do now?
I'm actually they can't do anything better. They've been absolutely incredible the way they've started on the slot. Slot has put his philosophy in front of the players, and they have taken to it like duck to water, like you say. But one thing that they can't afford injuries.
Yeah,
In
they need to
midfield
keep
and in
their
defense.
main key players fit.
Exactly. Like
I.e. Salah, Gravenberch,
Salah, Van Dijk,
Van Dijk, yes. The centre back.
Allison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these
Even
these-
Konate.
Even Konate.
Yeah.
So if they lose, especially centre back, if they lose a centre back, and especially if they lose VVD, they look finished, because Jarrell Kwanzaa is there, who played the first half and then was hooked off.
Yeah.
And he seems like he'll take a bit more time to integrate into slot, if at all he does. But I don't think apart from that, there's nothing they can do. Just avoid injuries and keep this unit intact.
with Manchester City, like the team that is going to challenge Liverpool for the title, and I think City would win. My prediction was City to win it. But one thing that City need to do to be in this race is to find more evidence for the 115 charges. No, I'm kidding. They need to. I also feel that they need to keep their players fit, because for me, City go into this Premier League for the first time, I feel, with a very thin squad, especially in attack. Right? They've already lost Ake. Walker, Stone still fighting with fitness issues. Rodri is still fighting with fitness issues. De Bruyne has that ability to like conk off like in the middle. And then if something happens to Haaland, what's going to happen, right? If something happens to Doku, do you think Grealish has the ability to be consistent? So that is where City will need to find a balance to keep their key players fit, because it's going to be a long campaign for City as well, with the Club World Cup and all these competitions playing. So I think City need to do that. Manchester United.
Ugarte.
All hopes
on
because
Ugarte, but
United's midfield looks very fragile.
But it's Eric Ten Hag's responsibility to get that midfield firing with Ugarte, because you've been given the players that you wanted, the profile that you wanted. Now it is up to you
Exactly. And there's
to
no
get those
excuses
players
now.
firing, because
And to get the team playing
the
good football.
good football.
Yeah.
Because these are not regular players. They are world class players.
Yeah.
You look at
world class. They are like quite expensive players. Yeah.
expensive, but they are really good players.
Yeah.
Like you look at Ugarte, who was really highly rated at Sporting before he joined PSG. Look at Mazraoui and look at Delic.
Yeah.
Like these are really, really, really highly rated players. And Xerxes did well at Bologna.
Yeah.
And you combine with already what we've got, Bruno, Garnacho, and in Alessandro. Like whatever we've got, we've done. We have to fire and under Ten Hag. And
So I think in short, Ten Hag has to get the best of this
He
team.
has to.
That's
or else
what-
he's gone.
Yeah, he's
Or else
gone by
he's
December,
He's gone.
because I
He's
don't
gone by
think
December. If he
like
doesn't
results
fire.
like this will keep him in the job.
No.
Newcastle United,
Newcastle
over reliance on Isaac.
Over reliance, and they need to be more consistent, because last
As a
season they
team.
fell off.
Yeah.
As a team, they need to be more consistent. They fell off last season. They were in the top 4 hunt, and they just fell off in the end. And they need to do more. And defensively, they feel like Fabian Schär is there. But at fullback they have Livramento, but at left back,
Yeah.
they still
Lewis
play.
Hall.
Lewis Hall is coming, but and
Matt
Dan Burn is
Target
still
and all
playing.
this.
Dan Burn-
Yeah.
Matt Target is, I don't think
It's
he's
a
gone.
very
But they need to
defensively.
defensively, yes, and attackingly, yeah. Apart from Gordon and Isak, more
Barnes
players.
needs to have a
Barnes
good
needs to have a good season. Joelinton needs to step up more, and Bruno Guimaraes has been he has been good, but he needs to be consistent as well.
With Nottingham Forest, I feel that it's going to be very interesting to see how they integrate new signing Ward-Prowse with Gibbs White, because both Gibbs White is their key player, and then Ward-Prowse has come to Forest to play. So that's going to be an interesting combination as to how they get the best out of the two, because surely you have to play them with a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see now with Danilo also out. They might use Sangare over there. So how they get that midfield set up right, how they get the best of Ward-Prowse, because I think Ward-Prowse coming in is a very good signing for a team like Forest. They have to get the maximum out of Ward-Prowse.
Yeah.
They need to get on to his free kicks. They need to get on to his
Yeah.
corners. So make use of Ward-Prowse, I would say, is what Forest need to do. For Southampton, I feel that they need to be more clinical in front of goal, because Southampton is one of the teams in the first 3 Premier League games. They've lost all of the 3 games, and they've lost all 3 games having 65% possession or more. That's so shocking. But the thing is that the possession is not that enough, because all they do is sideways passing. So teams are happy to let them have the ball, right? So I feel that they now need to play through teams, which they're struggling to do. And I think the strikers need to get more as well. Brereton, Diaz, Armstrong have to take more on their shoulders and be like, let's be clinical. Let's finish those chances, whatever we are getting. So I think that's what Southampton need to do. Spurs are in a pickle at the moment, because they've gone under the radar, I think, because Manchester United took all the headlines. But 4 points they have. They've lost to Newcastle United yet again. They drew to Leicester. And it's the same issues for me that is haunting. And I feel Postecoglou needs to do that exact thing, is find the balance between attack and defense.
Yeah.
They need to, because they go chasing goals, then they have those massive spaces that
Exactly.
Udogi and Pedro Porro leave, and teams always have a chance against them. So they need to be defensively more sound. The only hope is that if they have the ability to outscore teams, that is a big hope, and which will fall on the shoulders of Solanke, because Son has lost a yard, right? So that will only work if Solanke is again giving you 20-25 goals a season, which is not a given. So I feel defensively they do need to do a little bit
I think
better.
even last season I said that Postecoglou needs to adapt his tactics.
Yeah.
And he can't just play. He can't be a one-trick pony, because once you're figured out, you're dead.
Correct.
Because Premier League teams will hit you on the transition like anything.
Yeah.
And the likes of Liverpool, they've looked on the transition. They've looked one of the best teams,
Exactly.
and they're gonna rip apart Tottenham if they just keep playing like this.
With West Ham United, I did a whole video on how they could be the dark horses. But for me, what I've seen in the first 3 games, I think Lopetegui needs to make this team play as a unit, because there are a lot of new players in this team. Some have not even started yet. So I think they look a little bit disjointed. So I feel that one thing that Lopetegui needs to do, and needs to do fast, because time is never your friend in the Premier League as a manager. So they've given him all that backing. Of course, I feel that they're going to give him time, but West Ham will be expected to finish in the top 10. There's been no excuse for them to finish outside the top 10 with the amount of spending that they've made. So he needs to get hold of this team fast, and he needs to make this team play as a unit. To end off, it's Wolves. I think Wolves, I feel there are issues in defense that Gary O'Neill needs to sort out. They never actually replaced Kilman in defense, and in that Chelsea game, they looked
all over the place.
So open. Like every attack from Chelsea looked like a goal. Chelsea could have at least had 10 Chelsea should have had double figures in that game. So that is going to be a very, very key and a very big responsibility that Gary O'Neill has, because that could if he does not get that right, it could lead them into a relegation battle, because I think they won't get relegated. They have the attacking capability to survive, but I feel he needs to get that defense right. Yep.
Actually, yeah. And like, if I'm surprised that they haven't replaced Kilman.
Yeah.
Because you lose your captain,
Correct.
your main centre back, you go all out in the market and you go to replace him.
Yeah.
But they have not done it, and I think they're suffering for it.
Yep. So with that, we've come to the end of the video. Let us know what do you think your favorite club should do to get themselves in a better position come the end of the Premier League season. Let us know in the comments below. To like the video and share the video also with your friends. Let them know if they are football fans. Let them know about our community as well. We've already hit 1.3k subscribers, so thank you for your love and support. Keep subscribing. And the North London derby is coming on, so we'll be there to review the game. We'll have our instant reaction, so stay tuned to that. Hit the notification bell so that you know when our videos drop. And with that, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.